So there's really nothing you can ever do as a dungeon master that's wrong. You're always going to be right. Hold on. Let's try that again. Here are 5 things that you should never do as a dungeon master, because sometimes you can make mistakes. Number 1, don't ever try to kill your players. What do I mean by that? If you're a dungeon master, you don't have to try to kill them, because you can. You shouldn't be actively trying to kill your players. What you should be doing is trying to actively give your players massive challenges. Give them things that they can aspire to kill, to destroy, but at the same time, barely escape from their teeth. So what you're trying to do is not try to kill them, you're trying to let them barely live. The mindset itself will help you create encounters and adventures that are geared towards success, but creating challenges, looking at the player dynamics and how they fight and tactics, and getting bad guys that will actually make that harder for them, as well as let them shine. Because if you're trying to kill them, you'll look at the paladin with the high AC and you'll say, I'm going to use something that actually removes that AC. However, if you're trying to give them challenges, you're going to throw a lot at that paladin, so those waves will crash against him, making him feel heroic. That change in mindset does an amazing thing. As I'm not trying to kill them, I'm trying to challenge them. It's a little bitty thing. The second thing you should never do as a dungeon master is be vindictive or adversarial. Listen, your players are players, and they're going to do things that are going to mess with your plans. Being vindictive means you're actively trying to harm them. And I know we don't want to harm our players, but the players' characters, you can't say you haven't thought of it before. Now, here's the big thing, though. Being adversarial. It's one thing to create challenges with your players. It's another thing to do things specifically to take away their fun. Adversarial play means it's them versus me. It's player versus dungeon master. And it's not. It's a collaborative story effort, and you should take the time to grow that story together. That story can be combat. That story can be encounters with NPCs. It can be rolling skill checks. Adversarial means I'm trying to get you to fail. We never want a fail-only scenario. We want to enhance intensity scenario. We want things to heighten, to basically give the players something to fear, because when fear hits the table for real, that's great. But at the same time, if I'm adversarial, I push too far, and I put the players in situations they can't get out of. And that's not the goal. The goal is to create scenarios, just like combat, that are challenging. The third thing you never want to do, and this sounds weird, but is remove consequences from the player's actions. If there's no reason the players are there, if their actions have no effect on the world, then why are they playing the game? But the thing is, there's consequences too. If the players decide to go and burn down an entire forest because it's filled with a bunch of twig blights, well, what are the consequences to that? Yes, the twig blights are gone, but what about all the other animals that were there? What about the dryads and the druids and everyone that's protecting the forest? There are consequences. What about they killed the duke that was evil? Who takes over the duke's place? Remember, in Dungeons & Dragons, we're telling a story, and all actions should have consequences, or at least their actions should matter. I use the term consequences, and that might actually be the wrong word. Maybe we should use, you see the results of your actions. Those should have lasting effects upon the world. The fourth thing you absolutely shouldn't do as a dungeon master is take away things from your players. Don't give them something and then be like, I'm going to take that away. That is one of the most frustrating things you can do unless it's telegraphed. It's one thing to have the players go fetch a magic item they're able to use as they fight back, and then they have to give it to the king, to the duke, to the wizard that sent them on the quest. I get that, and that's okay. But when you just take away an item because, that broke the game, you need to have that conversation out of character. Don't just remove it without talking to your players first. Yes, if something breaks your game and it's ruining the fun for you as the dungeon master, you need to have that conversation with, hey, I gave you a bag of holding and a portable hole. That's not working because you keep nuking things, right? Let's remove those. Maybe they shouldn't exist anymore after they use it once. Maybe it's gone because they did that. The bottom line is don't just give them something and take it away because you as the dungeon master made a mistake. If you did make a mistake, own up to it, talk about it out of game so that way you can move on. Nobody will remember that. And if they do remember that, it'll be hey, do you remember when the dungeon master actually gave us a bag of holding and a portable hold? Yeah, that was a boneheaded move. It'll be a joke going forward. But don't do it vindictively, going back to one of our previous statements. But the bottom line is that, yes, we will make mistakes. You will give the player something. So think about ways you can handle it in-game that don't require it to be removed. And if you do remove it, understand, your players are going to track it down. So if you remove it and then destroy it, that's more being adversarial. The fifth thing you never want to do as a Dungeon Master is tell them a story. What do I mean by tell your players a story? The players should be telling the story with you. If you are telling a story and other people keep coming in and the players' actions don't matter, sometimes we call it railroading. Sometimes we call it lore dumping. It's the Dungeon Master telling the players things that may not matter to them where it has no impact in the game itself. Have the players be interactive with the story that's being told by you as a collective. And the thing is I watch a lot of tables where the Dungeon Master is telling the story to the players of what they're going to do and where they're going to go and what they're going to expect, as opposed to letting them experience it. Remember, you're telling a story together, not at each other. The players are only going off what the Dungeon Master gives them as far as information goes. Sometimes the players don't ask the right questions, so you do have to give them more information. This is a balancing act. This is not a right or wrong, but it's simply an idea of, I don't want to do an exposition. And also this goes back to consequences and actions and things mattering. If they're just passerbys in a greater scheme of things that are happening and their actions have no consequences, you're writing a story, a novel, as opposed to playing the game of Dungeons and Dragons. So, guys, I hope you liked this. I hope you had fun. Like and subscribe, hit the smash button, all that dumb stuff that you have to do at the end of a YouTube video. And also, I have to give a shout out for Tap and Roll, who's letting me shoot in their store and gives me an amazing background. So look them up if you're in Williamsburg, Virginia. Tap and Roll. The next couple videos will be here. And as long as I'm in Williamsburg and they're letting me shoot here, who knows? Maybe more. So see you guys next time.